Welcome to Top Tables, where I'll showcase various YuGiOh tournament experiences within Toronto and even beyond the city as I prepare for big events such as Regionals, YCS, and the NAWCQ. Hey guys, so welcome to episode 4. Today we're going to be covering the Phantom Nightmare Premier event. For those of you not as familiar with this kind of events, basically official tournament stores can hold these tournaments where you get a taste of the product a week in advance from the time of it officially coming out, and you get to participate in a tournament and try to win the playmat as well as like the box for that new set. So it's going to be really fun. I know the overall goal for this vlog series has been to try to showcase different stores in Toronto. This time we're actually going to go to Go For Game again because I do have some lunch plans and they happen to be hosting it in the evening, so it's just perfect. So now I'm very excited for this set. Of course we have some very impactful cards like Poplar as well as Promethean Princess for those various fire strategies and gives them a really strong buff. You also have some new stuff for YuGiOh, which is kind of cool because you can just like super poly like your entire opponent's board and everything. And then also Voiceless Voice is also a really new cool archetype that's coming out. Of course like the ritual strategy, they kind of needed some much needed support, so I'm really excited to see more of those new decks as we head into this new format. Now we also have another special package to open today, and that's from one of my sponsors, Imperium Duelist. They make some really great accessories for YuGiOh product, like let's say deck boxes, playmats, sleeves, and all kinds of different stuff like dice even. So let's just open and we'll see what we got. Okay, and before we continue, definitely want to highlight, use my code HAKUNA10 at Imperium Duelist for 10% off. So we're just going to start off with this playmat. You probably would have seen a lot of my duels in my previous vlogs, and you would have seen that playmat as well, and that's also Imperium Duelist. So this is pretty nice. Got the Millennium Rod here. Okay, and let's just open the box. Got some sleeves here, some dice. We'll open that soon. This looks more like a deck box, I guess. And a bunch of oversleeves. Wow. So big thanks to Imperium Duelist again. Definitely go check out their store and use my discount code if you're buying anything. But for now, let's just get some food before heading to locals. Alright, time to pull the packs. What am I looking for, Matt?
Promethean Princess to lend to your good friend Matt.
Okay, no, definitely not a princess. Oh my, that's probably the worst opening.
Snake Eyes.
Oh! Let's go! Oh! Yo, Matt, princess!
Please sell to me, please.
Alright, so let's get started with the actual matches. And round 1, we're facing against my boy Taylor and his Sharks. Alright, so we're just going to skip to basically Taylor's end board here. He did when Daryl went first. I mean, this is pretty impressive. Like, totally awesome. He has like a monster negate as well with the utopic stuff. Like Kragan, which is like a pop, turns my stuff into water. He even has like some armored interruptions. But I did draw Super Poly, which is pretty strong into this particular kind of board. Not that you would ever really expect to play against Sharks. But we do have Garura here. I do make a slight misplay, but it kind of ends up working out. But I should have actually pitched Aluber instead of Goldsark instead, just so I have a Dark Engrave, because Goldsark gets me to another Aluber anyways. That is one misplay, but I kind of ends up working out just based on what Taylor does. So we do summon the Aluber, use its effect. He intends to pop instead. So Taylor's not as familiar with the branded matchup. So essentially, of course, then now I can like summon the Serenier and now go into Lobelian. We're gonna dump the Retribution and now Lobelian the Lost. He does allow it, which is of course kind of a mistake because now with Lost have a pretty strong range to get into like my fusion plays. We're gonna thrust into fusion deployment rather than branded fusion because we basically have like access to Albaz to get into Mirror Jade. It's a little bit safer. We don't have to play into like Ash or anything as well. And so we summon that. He's no longer going to be able to negate the activation because of branded loss. So we go into Mirror Jade here. We're going to add the Cartesia off of loss, summon that, and Taylor just scoops, and we're just going to go into game 2. Alright, so moving on to game 2, we're of course going second yet again. He's going to summon the Tenyi, the water one, and then honestly, I don't know what any of these shark guys are called, so you're going to have to forgive me on that. But basically it added, which meant I'm like, okay, sick, I can use Droll now. So it's looking pretty good. He's going to have to go into Bahamut Shark for the Toad play. That is his 5th summon though, so we do have Nib as well. We did draw quite well going second into this game. So next, he's just going to set one pass. So we're going to start off with the opening. get the Aluber, use its effect to search, and we're just going to get the Branded Fusion here. Next, we'll rip that Branded Fusion. We're going to summon Lubellion instead, use its effect. We also sent Tragedy, so we're going to be able to chain block here, because he did actually show that he had Bell, because he was trying to use it earlier when it was not legal. So we're just going to summon the Quem. This is our 4th summon, so we have to start being kind of careful here. So we're going to dump the Cartesia, and we're just going to enter battle, and from here, we're just going to banish that token, and now we can trigger the Quem. This is in battle phase, so we don't have to worry about Nib, and this is enough for game, so let's go into the next round.
Xavier, what's your favorite card from Phantom Nightmare?
My favorite card is Sunset Beat.
And why is that?
Because I love the artwork and it reminds me of Paradise, and YuGiOh is Paradise. It's beautiful.
My favorite card is Flock Together, Birds of the Feather, Flock Together, Flu Gang.
I'm looking for Floundery's kind of like support, like this card.
Alright, Henko, what's your favorite card from Phantom Nightmare? Wonder support?
Yeah, Wonder support. Let's go.
As Yusei would say, combos are great. My favorite new card from the set, Aromaseraphine Rosemary. I think she adds a new access to the plant deck. You know, make it very annoying for your opponent to kill you.
This is actually my favorite card from the new set because this card is not even searchable by the Earthbound archetype, but it is a polymerization, and I think that's very great.
Okay, so round 2, we're facing against Luke and his Rescue Ace strategy, so let's just get started. So we do win the battle, we get to go first. Now, unfortunately, we don't have access to Branded Fusion in our opening hand. We do have Nadir Servant, which with Maximus can actually lead to quite a lot, and I have some pretty good sets as well. So basically, this turns into something like this. So he's going to start off with the Bellstar, which, of course, now I'm going to trigger the Cartesia to start the fusion plays, because, of course, prior turn, you know, I had already used Nadir Servant. I couldn't actually fusion summon that turn. We're going to go into Gragnol, and this is where we're going to dump the Gimmick Puppet, and also trigger the Quem, bring out the Albaz. We're also going to add the Merc off of Lost as well. We're just going to use Albaz effect just to fuse away the Bellstar, just make a Mud Dragon. And then now we're just going to use Brandon Red, that same Albaz, and summon out the Sanctifier, and now we can still Gimmick Lock and give ourselves to the Cartesia, and he's just going to scoop and go into game 2. So game 2, basically, we're in the state where, unfortunately, my opponent was still able to get to the Turbulence set 4 on the 4th summon. I did have Nib, I did eventually Nib, but, you know, it didn't do too much, and I'm just kind of, like, trying to make my way through all of these sets, along with the Nibiru token, which isn't all that bad. Now, eventually, I get to this position where I'm using Fusion Duplication, and I make the Albion, trigger the Lost, add Merc, go into Mirror Jade here, and banish the Hydrant as well on the summon so that he cannot respond. So we try our best to fend off the Clapback by Luke, but we do have the Guardian Chimera play as our last resort, and we do kind of take it from there. Now let's just quickly move on to round 3, where we're going up against a great guy in Jacob, who's piloting Fire Kings. Alright, so luckily we did win the Daryl, and we're going first. We're going to start off with the Quem here. Dump the Shrider Giant just because it's a little bit more flexible depending on whether Branded Fusion resolves or not, and of course it does not because I get ashed here. We do still have Cartesia here. We're going to trigger the Fusion Summon. I know there's a bit of glare there, but that is a Gragnol. And we're going to also trigger the Quem. I believe I probably sent the Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, realistically speaking. We did have the one Branded Red set. No cards left in hand, unfortunately. So Ash, you know, through Ash we can still play, or rather still lock. We're going to send another Albaz into the grave with Shroud Giant. Just because the one is going to get banished off of Branded Red, and I wanted to keep another one in case, you know, the Quem interaction can come up. We're going to try the Sanctifier Gimmick Lock here. It does succeed, but of course we don't have as much follow-up. I do have Albaz here, which means we can actually get into Mirror Jade as well. So also I should mention I really punted in this game 1. I definitely had clear chance of winning, but I really throw it, but I'll explain why, and maybe, you know, we can learn from it as well. So he's gonna go with the Prosperity. You can also always like trigger Quem off something like Prosperity as well for future reference. He's gonna go with Ponix. This is my first misplay. I should have actually used Cartesia Summon before he gets access to the quick play that pops. Realistically, maybe even do it before he puts a Fire King body on board, just because now, because that is a quick play, I can't really trigger Cartesia without him just popping away the Cartesia, for example. So that really sucks, or rather Albaz even. He does just enter battle, goes over Albaz, which maybe I shouldn't have put in defense mode because it is at 0 defense. So that's one of my misplays there, but I make an even bigger misplay soon enough. We're just going to go into battle, attack over the Gimmick. I really should not have attacked over the Ponix because I knew that he added the Garunix, which means he can destroy like a Kieran, and then pop the Sanctifier because I actually don't have Branded Opening. It also does not target, which is actually pretty key. So we really just throw it there, and so we're just going to go into game 2. Alright, so let's just move on to game 2, and we are going to start off with the Lubellion, add the Serenir. We're going to have to normal the Cartesia, unfortunately. Use its effect to fuse with the Serenir, dumping with Gragnol, as well as the Serenir. Basically, just like the different way to get to Branded Fusion, but unfortunately we are met with an Imperm on Gragnol, which is actually pretty big. So So we decided to just dump the branded opening instead what's in here just for some card destruction protection for future use. We do have Nadir Servant. We're gonna go with the Maximus and also draw from Garura, which is at least our saving grace at this point. Unfortunately, no gimmick lock will happen just because we weren't able to dump it off of Granule. Although if I recall, I actually might have drew the gimmick puppet off Garura, which is kind of funny. So we're just gonna set to, at least we have some background interruption. We also set the Albion Dragon as well as Ash Dragon. So we're gonna set the Branded Red, summon out the Quem, and that is gonna dump an Albaz that we are missing in the grave. So Jacob's gonna start off with the Wanted, get the Witch, and he's actually gonna pitch a different Witch for the this current Witch, which in case I am just gonna call by the grave it just so it doesn't get the effect. He's gonna go with the Continuous to place the field spell, and then get access to Garunix. That's gonna summon. I do have an Imperm as well, so while no gimmick clock, we do still have several layers of interruption still. I think he's threatening a battle phase. We're gonna just go with the Branded Red now, summon out the Mirror Jade, and then also trigger Quem to bring out the Cartesia. We're also just gonna banish the Garunix here, and he's just gonna scoop, and we're just gonna go into game 3. So we're moving on to game 3, and looks like Jacob doesn't have the best hand. He's going to go with the Ash guy. We're just going to impermanent and just set one pass. So we're in pretty good control at this point. We're going to start off with the Gold Sark, banish the Merc, add the Shrouded Dragon. This play did play into draw, but I kind of had to do it this way. We're going to dump the Albaz because we have a Branded Red in hand. So in case that's an Imperm, I would Aluber and then use Branded Red to dodge it. But then I actually ended up drawing a Cosmic off of Shrouded instead, so we just got rid of it. And it indeed was Imperm, so we're gonna have Loss and Branded Fusion. Unfortunately, that does resolve, so we're looking pretty good here. So we're basically trying to make Dragoon at this point. Also add the Cartesia off of Lost, summon Dragoon, summon the Cartesia, go into Granule, I believe. And so yeah, essentially at this point we kind of have full control, and we do take this one as well. So after every match, I think it's always great to just talk over the misplays we've made and how we could have played better, and giving each other pointers on certain interactions with their deck. Locals are of course a great way to have fun and play your deck, make trades, but also to watch others play and learn a thing or two. So hopefully you can make the most out of your local experiences as well, whether you win or lose. Anyways, we are undefeated at this point, so let's just move on to the final round. Okay, so for final round, we are facing the one and only Hanko-cha, who of course is a very good player. And speaking of Hanko, definitely make sure to check out his TCG player articles. I do get very lucky in this match and pull out the win, but he beat me 9 times out of 10 in any normal condition. So we do lose the die roll, and Hanko will be going first. He's going to start off with Advent though, which felt like it didn't seem like a good sign for his hand, so he does go with Rubina. I decided to just kind of take the risk here. Normally I wouldn't do this, but I decided to just Imprem here. And he actually does just set one pass. It's looking pretty good for us because we do have Lost as well as Fusion Deployment for the Cartesia line of play. And we basically just take this game pretty easy just because we do have access to Branded Fusion. On top of that, even a call by. So moving on to game 2, Hank was going first, and he starts with D-Fissure and then Duality, which is insane because under D-Fissure I cannot actually draw, so that's a pretty cool choice that he's running. And he basically has a kind of full combo here, which kind of sucks because I actually had draw plus Feather Duster, which would have been pretty sick. So this is kind of like the board that I'm going through, you know, Apex Avian, a few sets, and the map. Realistically, I probably should have started with like a Branded Fusion. If he negates the activation, then I have Retribution, get it back. Although he does have, you know, the trap to be able to just bring back Apex Avian again, and he can actually still negate it. I do have Feather Duster, but either way, without Branded Fusion, I just don't have any play, and without Feather Duster, I probably can't play through the back row anyway, so we just move on to game 3. So game 3, we are going first. He does use Shifter, but luckily I have call by yet again. As I said, I got really lucky in this match. So I also have access to Branded Fusion through Aluber as well as the Cartesia play as well. So it's a really good hand. So I'm basically at this end board I have lost. I already hard drew the Branded in red, so with the Albion effect, I have to be a little bit more creative. So I'm actually going to add the High Spirits off Albion just because I had a Branded opening hand. So still in end phase, I'm going to pitch that High Spirits, summon out the Quem, dump I think maybe an Albaz, and then the High Spirits actually just adds right back just because a Fusion monster hit the grave. So it's like a free discard basically. I just idle lock him on his turn. I also get the Search off of Aluber. He's going to use Prosperity here to excavate. He'll add the Shifter. I can also just trigger Quem, bring back the Albion. Doesn't really do much. He's going to Tribute Set over the idol with Shifter and then use Lightning Storm on the back row. I do have Branded in red here. So we'll just make a Mirror Jade. And Hanko does just scoop here because I do have too much of a board presence. So there you have it. I did end up finishing undefeated at the premiere event and won some cool stuff. It was a very fun day with lots of gameplay and some awesome new cards being pulled. Now you might think this episode is over, and it almost is, but we actually had another premiere event that I attended the next day at 401 Games downtown. So it started off hot because I pulled some nice voiceless voice cards, and I didn't bother filming any of my matches because I knew I already had too much content to go through. But after another 4 rounds of Swiss, I did in fact finish first place yet again and won another mat and the top 4. We split prizing and I even pulled a Poplar as well. So overall, it's been an amazing weekend to embrace this new set, but most importantly, I had a great time with some great friends playing some Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyways, hope you enjoyed this vlog and I hope I get to meet more of you in the future. Thanks again to all of you for watching, a big thanks to my sponsors and Patreons, and well, take care guys.